I had a client where she was going through chemo, and I was the one that had to basically like shave her hair.
Welcome to Shalin Edit, the podcast where Muslimah entrepreneurs talk about what it really takes to build, grow, and stay grounded. I'm Maisha, and today's guest is Hajira, who runs a private women-only salon and has some incredible insights on what it takes to create a space that's truly your own. Let's dive in. So, Hajira, introduce Hahya Beauty to us and tell us what you do.
So, Hajya Beauty is actually a female-only hair salon. It's catered to women only, but it's private in terms of girls who wear hijab or who don't feel comfortable around men. So, we've created this salon where you can come in and get your hair done. It's private and it's just women only.
To be honest, growing up, I barely came across any like private female only places. So
Mhm.
the fact that you have that is just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it really helps a lot of girls. And that's the number one thing I get is, oh my God, this is so exciting that we actually get to come into a hair salon and pamper ourselves. And then just the lack of women-only hair salons in the area is quite surprising, actually. So it's really nice to be able to cater to women.
Yeah, I agree. What made you want to create your own space instead of like working in someone else's?
So when I started doing hair, at that time I did not wear hijab. So I was working in a hair salon where it was men and women. So it was a unisex hair salon. And I was there for about 5 years. And then slowly I started getting into the deen more and learning more. And eventually I wanted to start wearing the hijab. At that point, I was still quite new in the salon that I was working at. And I asked the owner actually one day if it would be okay if I started to wear the hijab. And she basically said that it wouldn't make sense because if I'm a hairdresser, then I should be promoting my hair. So she didn't want me to wear hijab. And I think at that point is when I realized that a lot of salons would probably give me the same answer. And I did take a break from hair actually. At that point, I decided maybe it wasn't the correct path for me anymore because I did want to wear hijab and I just assumed every salon would give me the same answer. So I stopped doing hair for a bit and I worked at WestJet for a little while. But I definitely missed it. And then when I decided to come back to hair, is when I opened the salon.
Wow, I'm shocked. I didn't even know that was legal.
Yeah. So at the time, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know if this is like, if this is legal, like for her to tell me that, but I was still so new. So I didn't want to really ruffle any feathers. And I just decided, okay, well, if it's not going to work here, then I might as well leave. But looking back on it now, obviously it is quite a big issue to tell someone not to practice their religion. But I think at the time it was just because I was so new, I didn't really want to, you know, push anything further. So I kind of just left on my own.
Ah, yeah, that's fair. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no
But
worries. I mean, alhamdulillah, we got something better
mhm.
out of it.
Yep, Alhamdulillah for that. Tell us the story behind the name of your brand, Haya Beauty.
So Haya Beauty, it's funny because when I was sitting down thinking about names, I can't remember how many names I, try to put together and make it, sound either catchy or cute. And to be very honest, Haya Beauty, it just came almost out of nowhere, I guess you could say. So my niece, her name is Haya. With her name and then also the definition of Haya means modesty, it just kind of clicked. I was like, oh, this is so cute. I can name it after my niece, but the name itself means modesty. So it kind of worked both ways. So that's kind of how Haya Beauty came about. A lot of people get confused because there's a H in the middle and it's spelled Hahya. So a lot of people think it's Hahya Beauty, but it's actually Haya Beauty. It was more so because there was another salon. I don't know where it was on social media. I don't think it's based in Toronto or even Canada, to be honest, but it was on social media, so I couldn't use the same spelling. So I just decided to put that extra H in the middle there. But yes, that's basically how the name came about, which again was from Haya being my niece, and then Haya meaning modesty.
Wow, it's like that name was meant to be. That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cute. Right now in this season of your business, what's exciting you?
To be honest, it's been exciting from the very beginning. Opening a salon it's nerve-wracking, but it was exciting at the same time. Being able to build clientele, and I guess in this season it would be because I've built so many relationships with clientele over the past, I would say it's about 7 years now, from my first location to this location. I think it's more of just being excited to see, my clients and just, updating with them. It's almost like having a really big group of girlfriends, and they just come and visit me, and we get to do a hair and talk and chit chat, and so I think that's the most exciting part. Is it's almost like just my friends coming to visit, and in the meantime we do their hair and make them feel good about themselves as well.
That does sound fun. And remember last time we talked, you did mention you had like another salon before.
Yes.
So I was wondering if the version of you right before you opened your first salon could see you now. What would you think she would say?
I don't know. It's interesting to say because I think she would be surprised at the second location, because with my first location it was so nerve-wracking, and I think I remember you telling you the whole story when you came to visit, but it was just so nerve-wracking opening my first location and doing it like 25 years old, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was such a new like plaza that I had opened up the first location in. So I think she would be probably very shocked to know that I decided to now open a second location as well. Although the first location did close and we moved to the second location, I think she would probably be just more surprised at that. Like, oh, so you decided to do all this all over again and open up another location, even though you were so stressed opening the first one.
I just want to get into like the beginning, like the spark and all that. Was there a moment where you thought, okay, this is more than just doing hair, or was it like something that kind of just evolved over time?
It was a little bit of both, I would say. I think the moment I realized, oh, this is more than just hair, is when it started kind of um, moving a lot faster. I would say in terms of realizing that it's more than just hairs, when I realized um, a lot of my clients were coming back, and we were building relationships, and just seeing that the community really needed somewhere to do their hair and to feel pampered. And I think at that point is when I realized, oh, this is more than just hair. Like, I've had so many different experiences with so many different clients, that at some point it didn't feel like I was just doing their hair. I remember I had a client where she was going through chemo, and I was the one that had to basically like shave her hair. So, like little moments like this is when I felt like, oh, it's not just me, trimming their hair. I'm kind of intertwined, in certain parts of their life, because I haven't been able to keep up with her. She was an older lady. So inshallah she's fine and everything went well. But I'm sure in her mind she would remember that I went to, this salon, and this is the first time where I had to, really shave down my hair during my chemotherapy sessions. And it was something big for me too, because it hadn't been an experience that I had ever come across. So yeah, I think it definitely, there's been moments where it's a lot bigger than just doing hair, and it's been a good experience.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but yeah, inshallah, she's doing all great now. Also, I
Yeah.
never really mentioned it, but I just love your salon.
Yeah.
Like at this
Oh,
point, you're
thank
like
you.
the only person I really go to for my hair because of just the experience that you give. So
Oh,
thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Thank you
No
for
problem.
opening this to begin with.
Oh, I appreciate you guys showing up. That's the most important part.
And who was your first believer, like someone who really backed you up?
It's an interesting story because, I mean, I had a few different people, but initially when I had this idea of doing a female only hair salon, is it was an idea just in my mind at that point. And I remember I had gone to a masjid to go to my Quran classes, and there was a girl there, and I had never met her before in my life. And so she came up to me and she said, "Hey, like, I haven't seen you here for a bit. I'm very regular here." She just basically introduced herself. So she had actually gone back home for a little bit, which is probably why she hadn't seen me there for, the past few weeks or months at that point. So she came and she just introduced herself and she said, "Oh, like, what do you do? Are you in school?" And I basically told her, like, I'm a hairdresser, but I'm kind of going through this phase where I want to start wearing hijab, but I don't know if it's going to work out in a salon. And she said, "Oh, well, why don't you do something for hijabis? You can open up a salon because there's a bunch of girls in the same situation that you're in who want to get their hair done, but they have a very hard time getting accommodated in other salons." I was like, "Oh, that's such a cool idea." But when I thought about it, I was like, well, that means that my demographic is literally cut in half. So I only have females coming to me. And I don't know if a business would just survive on just females, because I had been working in a unisex salon where there was a lot more men coming in who do get their haircuts more frequently than women would. So she told me about that. And I said, like, I don't know. It's just a thought in my mind. I don't know if I'm actually going to go through with it. And so basically she said, well, if you do it, I am going to bring all these girls that are in the class right now and they're all going to come and support. So I told her, I said, okay, I'm gonna hold you up to that. I'm gonna take your phone number and we'll keep in touch. And so that's kind of where the idea was sparked. And so she kind of had, the confidence in me, and also she was willing to put the word out as well. And that day I came home, spoke to my mom about it, and I said, well, what do you think about this idea? My mom was like, yep, you're doing it. That's the right way to go about this whole situation. So that's kind of where it all started. So the girl, I don't know if she wants to be mentioned, but the girl kind of sparked the idea, and my mom was the one that was just constantly pushing me. And then in terms of opening the salon and being able to do all the little things, my sister Sarah, which probably a lot of the girls know, who have visited the salon, she was just there throughout the whole journey, especially in the beginning, just helping out with like anything and everything, even in times where I was like stressed out. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So she'd be very good at encouraging me and continuing to grow the business, like keep me calm in certain situations. So I wasn't one specific person, but there was definitely, to be honest, like females pushing me. So that was really nice. I just thought about that right now. It was a lot of females, kind of pushing me to go forward with this idea and with this business.
It's nice how you had like multiple people backing you up.
Yeah, yeah, it was really sweet.
When did it shift from I'm trying to I actually built something?
That shift, I guess, happened with the second location, I would say. The reason why I would say this the second location, even though I haven't been in this location for that long, is with the first location, we actually, on our 1 year anniversary of opening that first location, I think it was like either the day or maybe 3 days after, is where we got hit with COVID. And from that point on, we were constantly, well, we were closed for the first, I believe it was like 8 months when they had the first shutdown. And then we opened for 4, and then we closed again. Or sorry, 4 months the first time, and then like 8 months the second time. And then the constant opening and closing. So it really affected the business. It affected clients that we had probably done the first year who were having a hard time trying to get an appointment the second year or the third year. So it was quite hard with the first location. But with the second location, it's very interesting because the clients that I had from the first year in the first location have now found me at the second location years later, and alhamdulillah, like they've returned. So I think at that point is when I realized, like, oh, I actually built something. I built the clientele, and I've built returning clients who are happy with the service. And I think at that point is when I realized it. I think the first 5 years at the first location was quite hard. It was very unpredictable. I couldn't go to anybody for advice because everyone was in the same boat. Nobody had gone through like a pandemic like this before, especially with a business. So it was quite hard, but alhamdulillah, we survived the first location. And then we ended up moving to the second location.
Alhamdulillah, so glad you've come this far. What did running Haya Beauty force you to learn about yourself?
That's very interesting. I think what it taught me is patience, a lot of patience, because especially in terms of like the timing and trying to open the location and trying to even with like booking clients and appointments, it really did teach me a lot of patience and sort of to trust the process. A lot of things that I thought were in my control are not in my control. So there's only so much that you can do when you run a business. Yes, you put in your hard work, but to some extent, there is some luck as well. And so I understood that no matter how hard I was working, if there was going to be, 1 out of 20 people that didn't like my service or didn't like me for that matter, or could have been having a bad day, or I could have been having a bad day, that it wasn't in my control. And I just had to be patient and trust the process and trust myself to know that if I'm trying my best to give, a good service, but also taking into account that people are trusting me with their hair, this is money that they've earned that they're willing to spend in my business, then there's only so much I can do. So I think that was one of the biggest things, especially in the beginning, when I realized I had my first client who wasn't happy with her service. I was like, okay, Hajira, like, you've been so good for, let's say, 3 months and everyone's been happy. And then you have this one client who wasn't happy. I couldn't be so hard on myself about that. So that's definitely something I've learned, is that you can't make everyone happy, but you can always try, especially when you are running a business. It's very important. And like I said, patience as well is just, everything takes time. And I can't control every situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. It also serves as a good reminder, so thank you for saying that. What's one behind the scenes moment in your journey that was really tough, but most people don't see it?
I think a lot of people don't see all the paperwork and the licenses and the legal stuff of everything. I think that stuff is the hard stuff, because especially with my first location being 25 years old, I have no idea how I'm going to run this business. I don't know what papers and forms and all of this stuff that I need to be filling out. It's so different for everything. I think that was the behind the scenes stuff that people don't really realize. And this is a very funny story. So when I went to register my business, I had registered whatever I had Googled and researched and done I made sure I had all those documents and forms and everything was done. I had gone to the ministry, and I thought that I had everything done and good. And 3 months into me opening the business, I had two police officers come into the salon, and they said, "Oh, where's your business license?" And I don't know what paperwork I showed them. I said, "Oh, well, like, I went to the ministry and I did this, and this is the documents I have." And they're like, "Oh, but this is not your business license. Where's your business license?" I was like, "Oh, is this not, like, does this not legit, like, make everything legit? Like, are these not the documents?" And they're like, "No, this is not the document. You need a legitimate business license with this number." And so they gave me a bunch of information that you had to have all of this stuff as well to be able to run your business. And so the police officer said, "I'm going to write you a $300 ticket." And then I just panicked. I was like, "Oh my God, like, it's just 3 months of me opening. I had no idea." I think I was more freaking out the fact that they're just going to shut me down completely. And they saw the panic in my face. So they one of the police officers, he told his coworker, he's like, "Can we just step out for a minute?" And so both of them stepped out of the salon. I don't know what they spoke about. And then the other one, who didn't say anything the whole time, he walked back in. And he said, "Okay, I understand this is your first business. So we're just going to give you a warning. You need to go to the ministry again. And you need to make sure that you have all this paperwork, because we're going to be back here in 1 month. And you have to have this stuff, or else we are going to shut down your business." At the same day, I was like, "Okay, got it." And I went to the ministry, and I gave them all the information that they required to fill out whatever forms it was. And I got my business license. So I think, something like that, obviously my clients wouldn't know about that, but that was something that was quite hard and was behind the scenes that I had to deal with, and I had no idea what it even was until they came and told me there's different paperwork for different things. It was a funny story thinking about it now, but in that moment I was just completely panicking and I was so stressed out.
Yeah, as you were telling me that story, I could feel my heart rate just going up.
Yeah, it was quite scary. I was like, "Oh no, I messed up all my hard work." Mhm.
Has being a Muslimah ever made like certain business decisions feel heavier than they might for like others?
For sure, yeah. It definitely has made a huge impact in how I run my business, how I started. So when I first started or I even had the idea of all of this, my first thought was like, let me find out if this is even allowed in Islam. I mean, in my mind, it would make sense, of course. Like, we should be able to get a haircut. But I just wanted to be so sure. So I did ask a bunch of shuyukh and find out what was allowed, what wasn't allowed, as many questions that I could ask, and see if I was even making a good decision opening up a business. Because I never wanted to do something that was, against Islam. And I always wanted to have barakah in the business because I was choosing to do it in the Islamic way. So a lot of decisions were made based off of a lot of research Islamically, what I was allowed to do, what I wasn't. So one of the bigger things that I decided not to do, which a lot of clients did want the service, but it was something that I decided not to do based on, the advice of some of the shuyukh I got. And they told me about eyebrows and threading and waxing and all of this stuff. So as a salon, I could have included all of those services as well, but they told me, it's not recommended. I'm pretty sure a lot of girls have heard that it's not permitted to do eyebrows, and so there's some controversy between there as well, right? Some people say no, it's allowed. Some people say it's not allowed. So for me personally, I didn't want to take that chance if it wasn't permitted. That's something that I decided to leave out. I just decided to leave out actually the full service as well, whether it was, waxing your arms or legs, anything that could have opened the door to like, oh, okay, you know what, today it's fine. We'll just do the threading, we'll do the eyebrow. That was one of the bigger things, and a lot of my clients did always ask like, oh, like when are you going to put the waxing, when are you going to do the waxing. That's something that I've decided not to include in the salon, and even in our second location, same thing. We've decided not to include that as well. And then in terms of everything else, as a Muslim woman, owning the business or operating, a lot of the decisions that I make, I try my best to make sure that I'm not overcharging anyone, or if I'm performing a color service, and if I know it's not possible to get, a platinum blonde hair on jet black dyed hair, I try not to promise that to clients, or I don't think I've ever promised it to a client, to be very honest. I try to do all my work with as much honesty as I possibly can. I've always asked clients to book your consultations. I'm fine to talk to you for half an hour, for 45 minutes, for as long as you need, until you have all the information so that you can make the decision whether you want to go ahead and do it or not. So I think like just honesty, transparency, even cost, all these things, like, I always keep it in my mind that I'm not here to scam people out of money, because that wouldn't make sense. Like, I'm here to cater to the Muslims, and then just women who want the modesty, or women who want the private spaces. It just doesn't make sense to then use that and then scam people out of money. So a lot of my decisions are always going to be based off of Islamic teaching.
Yeah, that makes sense. I still remember the first time I got my hair done by you. It was a balayage, and I was asking so many questions, and you were being honest about it, like what worked, what wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that helped a lot. When you think about success for Haya Beauty, what part of it is faith exactly, and then what part of it would you say is just hustle?
I'm going to say it's definitely more faith than it is hustle. I'll be very honest. Because when I wanted to open the salon, I knew I knew how to do hair, but it was more my faith. I was like, okay, well, Hajira, you're doing it with the right intentions, and you're trying to do it, the Islamic way. So a lot of it came from faith. I thought, okay, even if I'm the best hairdresser in the world, if I can't get a client to walk in through the door, what's the point, right? Like, who's gonna know? So a lot of it was based on faith. I knew that if I had good intentions, and if I did it all the correct way, and I followed Allah's rules and commands, that Allah was going to bring the clients through the door. And it literally did happen like that. I had one client walk in, and then she went home and told her sister, and then I had now two clients coming in, and they went home and they told their cousins, and then so it basically just started building like that. I knew I was capable of doing hair, but it was all faith in Allah that He was going to bring me the clients, which is the same thing even till today. Me opening up a business, COVID hitting after 1 year, and then struggling for the 4 years to try to continue to build clientele in the midst of all this, and then closing down that location, and then reopening another location, and then promoting, trying to tell everyone that we're open. A lot of it was faith. So there was only so much that I could do. At the end of the day, it's Allah who was bringing me those clients, bringing me the clients who were so kind and encouraging and sweet.
I love that answer. And just moving into like the more practical things. So starting off, if someone want to start a private service-based business, let's say tomorrow, where should they actually begin?
To be honest, in such a short amount of time, everything's changed so drastically. Like Chat GPT and AI, there's so much more resources and answers that you can get quickly. For me personally, I just did a basic Google search, and because this is my first business, so I needed some guidance. I just didn't know where to start from. I Googled business owners that are, looking to train or to guide, new entrepreneurs. And I came across a website, and there was just a bunch of profiles on there, and you could email anybody you wanted. Now, these are all entrepreneurs. You could email whoever you wanted, and they could choose to work with you and to help you for free. And that's basically what I did. And again, that's where the faith part comes into all of this, because for me, it was just an idea. It was just a thought. I put my hustle in terms of just doing the Google search. And because my idea was so different and kind of catered more towards women, and then in that, women who wore hijab, the first name that popped up in that page was a Muslim man. And I sent an email. I said, this is an idea I have. I don't know how I can start all of this. Would you be willing to meet with me just so I can ask some questions? And when I went to meet him, it was him and his wife. And I spoke to them in their office, and they basically guided me through this. It's so different for everybody, because for me, I didn't know where to start. I just Googled and kind of started asking anyone and everyone how I can go about starting a business. But I feel like at this point, it's so much more easier to access information and to always ask questions, no matter how dumb the question might be, or whatever doesn't make sense, to always continue asking questions, because you're going to get so many different answers. And then probably, out of 20 answers, 15 of them will sound relatively similar. So that will give you, an idea, or, guide you as to what makes more sense. So it's not just a one-way type of answer, if that makes sense. Like, it's always good to continue asking and to continue researching, because everything's constantly changing. Even once I did have my business, I was still talking to my clients and still trying to figure out what to improve, what I should add into the services, what I should change. It's so hard for me to give you an answer, say, well, this is where you start. You just have to ask the questions. You just have to go to those places. Even for me, going into the ministry, to say, this is what I want to do. Where do I start? Where do I go? What forms do you need? What do I need? Just all the information that you can get before you take your first step is always good. Just have a lot of information before you just jump in, because sometimes when you jump in and you haven't done all the research, then there's just a bunch of things coming at you that you had no idea you had to do or to prepare for. It's just trying to ask the questions, do your research, and get as much information as you possibly can.
I actually really like your answer because especially when you say like there's really like no one way of going about it. Couldn't agree more, especially in this day and age, the way the internet is, like how many people are out there, social media, AI too. There's so many ways you can go about it. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
If you only had $5,000 and a skill, what's the first step you'd take to turn that into a business?
$5,000 and a skill. That is so interesting. I guess it would depend on what kind of skill you do have. If I had $5,000 in a skill, I don't think I would jump straight into opening up a business. I think I would take that 5,000 and try to double it for at least, 10,000, or try to grow it a little bit more before I start opening up a business. Because one thing that I quickly learned with running a business is, the minute even the thought comes into your head about a business, you're not talking in 10, 20, $50 bills anymore. You're talking in minimum hundreds, thousands is kind of where you're talking. So a lot of people think, oh, like whatever, $5,000, like let me figure it out. $1,000 is gone within minutes. So I think that's what I would do, is if I had 5,000, I'd figure out a way to kind of increase it, double it, triple it. And then, because I would be confident enough in my skill to then take that money and then create something out of it. I think if you have a little bit, you can You can continue to increase that little bit at a little small, a slower pace than to take that little bit and just throw it into something that you have no idea, um, or you have no guidance for.
Yeah, that is smart actually. To be honest, I wasn't expecting that answer, but
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And what's one skill or approach most people underestimate when starting a service business, but made all the difference for you?
Customer service. Oh my God, that makes such a big difference. Such a huge, huge difference. I've had clients that have come to me and I've had them in consultation say, well, this person did my hair, but I didn't really like the way they did it and I want the specific color. And I think the major difference that I guess for me is a consultation is going to make the world of a difference. And I love to teach. Had I not been a hairdresser, I probably would have been a teacher. So I love to teach. And if someone comes into the salon and I'm trying to explain this color is probably not possible for your hair, or if it is, it's not possible today, it might be possible in a few months or anything like that. I will try to explain it to them as best as I can. If I have to draw diagrams, if I have to show them swatches, if I have to do so many things so that they understand that I am not refusing the service because I want to, it's just because I'm just trying to explain to them what's possible and what's not. I think that goes such a long way in retaining clients, but also building the trust with new clients because they feel like I'm not there to just take their money and do whatever I want to their hair and then they're going to have to deal with it. First of all, that's never something that I would want to happen to me. So that's never something that I want to do to anyone else. And then being honest and open about everything and anything um regarding the hair or the hair appointments or anything like that gives them the freedom to decide if this is something that they want to do or not. It also helps me because it helps me be less anxious and stressed out, like, oh my God, what if I'm not able to give them this color that they want? And then they're going to be upset after that. So it really just makes everything super simple because they have all the information. They are always free to contact me with as many questions as they have. And I'm totally fine to give them their answers. And then they have the freedom to decide. I have never pushed anyone to book an appointment with me, especially if they weren't sure about, whatever it may have been. Um, and then during the actual hair service or during the actual appointments, just kind of explaining what I'm doing at each step of the way, it helps people so much because they're kind of seeing what I'm seeing. And I'm also explaining to them, hey, look, this is kind of what the hair is looking like right now. Here are the two options. Like, which way do you want to go with that? Or, we tried this haircut 3 months ago. How did you feel? Did you like it? Did you want to change something about it? I think that helps a lot. I'm always looking to improve myself, and I'm sure my clients are always looking, to see what else they can do. So I always give them the options, and I try my best to give them the freedom to decide what they want to do. So there's no pressure from me, and then I don't feel pressure from them. And I think that makes the world of a difference. I think a lot of places, they're just trying to get you in and out of the salon. And because my salon is more of a salon suite, it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more, you're allowed to be more free in yourself. You don't feel like I'm just another appointment on the day and then I got to be out by this time. Majority of my clients, if they're booked for a specific time, it's actually just for them. I might here and there have a haircut appointment in between a color service, but I will always try to give 100% of my dedication and my time to that client. So I think that makes a huge difference in terms of how the customer feels.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you do that, especially like explaining, teaching, things like that, because I'm a very
Yeah,
analytical person, so I
yeah,
require things like that in order for me to
yeah,
actually make decisions.
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm just glad it's like more simple on like your end too when
Yeah,
when like the client's able to decide.
yeah.
And we're gonna get into lightning round now. Yeah, just gonna start off with a fill in the blank. Running a salon taught me that women really need blank.
Running a salon taught me that women really need a place to hang out.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Would you rather have a client show up with a wild new hairstyle idea every day or never experiment and just do the same look on repeat?
Oh, that's such a tough one. It's such a tough one because if someone's changing their hair every day, that's not going to be healthy for their hair. So you know what? I'm going to stick to someone who's not changing because I'd rather have you have healthy hair versus really damaged hair.
Right, that's fair. And if you could style a celebrity or a fictional character's hair for a day, who would it be?
Oh my God. A fictional character? I would say like Rapunzel because she has just so much hair. There's so much to do.
Yeah, I agree. You could do so much with her hair.
Yeah, there's just so much. You can do such different styles.
Yeah, that's true. Like, what would you go for if she walked into your salon?
I think definitely like trim it a little bit just to give it some more shape. We don't want it to look like a really long veil sitting on top of her head. So I definitely give it some more shape, maybe trim it a little bit, add a few more pieces of color in there.
Okay, I'm picturing that.
Yeah, yeah, not super short because we still want to keep her length, but maybe not that long.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. And would you rather do early morning appointments or late evening hustle?
Oh, early morning appointments. I'm an early bird. If it was possible and if I had clients that were able to come to me at 6 a.m. in the morning, I would be more than happy to come in early.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And if your salon had a signature scent or vibe, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm so obsessed with smells and scents. If my salon had a scent or vibe, I would say it would smell like fresh coffee and something sweet, so maybe like a sugar cookie and a fruity shampoo. I think that's what the smell would be. It would be cozy, but like fresh and just yummy.
Yeah, you literally just named all like my favorite like flavor profiles.
I think it is for a lot of women.
Yeah. And if you could send a voice note to your future self 5 years from now, what would you say to her?
Oh, okay. I would say enjoy what's going to come next. Just continue to enjoy every step of the way because you've been loving it so far.
I love that. Also, what's your no BS message to aspiring Muslim entrepreneurs out there?
My no BS message would be honestly, if you're going to be a Muslimah entrepreneur, definitely stick to the rules of Islam. I think that's going to take you much further than creating little loopholes for yourself here and there. I know it's hard. Sometimes it's much easier to make quick money than to make little money now, but there's always more barakah in doing it the Islamic way and doing it the correct way. It gets tricky once if you realize you can make a lot more money, but it's never worth it.
Thank you for that advice. Like, it's a really good reminder, and I feel a lot of people like they don't really mention that or like talk about it. And for anyone who wants to connect with you and like learn more about your work, where can they find you online?
So they can definitely look for us on Instagram. That's kind of where we are most active. We have the salon phone number on Google, so they can always call the salon, and then they can message us on TikTok as well.
And that's a wrap. If this episode inspired you, subscribe and share it with one friend who needs this nudge. Until next time, keep your hustle graceful and your dreams loud.